The holographic display flickered to life aboard the Sovereign's Reach, flagship of the Kaldrith Galactic Empire. Commander Diana Reeves stood at attention, her Terran command uniform crisp and pristine despite the 3-week journey through the neutral zone. Across from her, the towering figure of High Chancellor Vexthor loomed, his 6 arms folded in what she had learned was a gesture of supreme irritation. "You dare," Vexthor's translator crackled, "to deny the Empire passage through this sector? We have conquered 17 star systems. We have subjugated species that had mastered faster-than-light travel before your ancestors discovered fire." Diana's expression remained unchanged. "That may be true, High Chancellor, but you haven't met humanity." Behind her, Lieutenant Oliver Chen adjusted the tactical display, highlighting the invisible boundary that separated human space from the rest of the galaxy. It was a line humanity had drawn 50 years ago when they first achieved interstellar travel, a line they had never needed to defend until now. The Kaldrith Empire had been expanding for millennia, an unstoppable force that absorbed civilizations like a wave consuming sandcastles. They had reached humanity's border 3 months ago, expecting another easy conquest. What they found instead was something that defied their understanding of lesser species. "Your fleet numbers 47 vessels," Vexthor continued, his primary eyes narrowing. "Ours contains over 3,000. Your technology is primitive. Your species is young. What possible reason could I have to respect your border?" Oliver spoke up, his voice calm and measured. "Permission to demonstrate, Commander?" Diana nodded. "Proceed, Lieutenant." Oliver's fingers danced across his console. On the view screen, a small Terran probe appeared, drifting toward the massive Imperial fleet. It was no larger than a shipping container, unremarkable in every way. "This is the TCS Epsilon," Oliver explained, "a standard defensive platform. We have 47,000 of them scattered throughout our territory." Vexthor laughed, a sound like grinding metal. 47,000 toys to frighten us? I'm not impressed, human." "You should be," Diana said quietly. "Lieutenant, activate Epsilon." The probe came to life. What happened next occurred in less than 3 seconds, but those 3 seconds redefined the Kaldrith Empire's understanding of warfare. The probe didn't fire weapons. It didn't launch missiles. Instead, it simply calculated. Quantum processors, the culmination of humanity's obsession with mathematics and physics, ran through billions of trajectory simulations. The probe identified every ship in the Imperial fleet, mapped their positions, calculated their structural weaknesses, and determined the exact sequence of events needed to create a cascade failure. Then it fired a single projectile, a tungsten rod no larger than a telephone pole, accelerated to a fraction of light speed. It struck the shield generator of the nearest Imperial destroyer at a precise angle. The explosion was contained by the ship's own defensive systems, forcing the energy inward. The destroyer didn't explode, it imploded, collapsing into a brief, intense point of gravity. That artificial gravity pulled 3 nearby frigates into collision vectors. Their automated systems tried to compensate, firing thrusters that pushed them into 7 other ships. Those ships' emergency protocols activated their jump drives simultaneously, and the overlapping FTL fields created a spatial distortion that disabled 42 more vessels. In 3 seconds, the probe had neutralized 53 ships without destroying a single one. The bridge of the Sovereign's Reach fell silent. "We call it mathematical warfare," Diana explained, walking closer to the holographic projection of the now crippled Imperial formation. "Humanity doesn't have the strongest weapons or the biggest fleet, High Chancellor. What we have is an understanding of cause and effect that borders on precognition. We can see how dominoes fall before we tip the first one." Oliver pulled up another display. "Every probe is networked. They share calculations in real time across quantum-entangled channels. If you cross our border with 3,000 ships, all 47,000 platforms will activate simultaneously. Within 5 minutes, your entire fleet will be disabled. Not destroyed, we're not monsters. But you'll be dead in space, drifting in our territory completely at our mercy." "This is impossible," Vexthor breathed. "No species fights this way." "That's because no species thinks like humans," Diana replied. "We're problem solvers, High Chancellor. Give us an unsolvable problem, and we'll work on it obsessively until we crack it. For 50 years, we've been working on a single problem. How does a young species defend itself against ancient empires?" She gestured to the disabled Imperial ships. That's our answer. Vex Thor's multiple eyes studied the tactical display, watching as his fleet struggled to recover. Even his flagship's advanced sensors couldn't detect the other platforms Diana claimed existed. They were simply there, waiting, invisible and patient. You would threaten the Empire? He asked, but his voice had lost its edge. No, Diana corrected. We're establishing boundaries. You can have the rest of the galaxy, High Chancellor. Conquer whatever you want. But humanity's borders are inviolate. Not because we're aggressive, but because we refuse to be conquered. Oliver added, We're sending you the full calculations for what just happened. Your scientists can verify everything. They'll find no deception, no tricks, just mathematics, physics, and human ingenuity. Vex Thor was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly, all 6 of his arms lowered in what Diana recognized as a gesture of respect. The Empire has encountered many species. Warriors, scholars, zealots, cowards. But never have we met a people who wage war with numbers rather than weapons. Then consider this an education, Diana said. Humanity doesn't want conflict with the Empire. We just want our space, our peace, our right to exist without interference. And if we respect this border, Vex Thor asked, then we can be neighbors instead of enemies, Diana replied. We can trade, share knowledge, perhaps even become allies. But that choice is yours to make. The High Chancellor studied both humans for a long moment, these representatives of a species barely a century old in galactic terms. They stood without fear, without arrogance, simply stating facts as immutable as the laws of physics they'd weaponized. Very well, Vex Thor finally said. The Kaldrith Empire will recognize Terran space. Your borders will be respected. As the hologram faded, Oliver let out a breath he'd been holding. That went better than expected. Diana allowed herself a small smile. Humanity's greatest weapon has always been our minds, Oliver. Today we just proved it to the galaxy. Outside the viewport, the stars gleamed, and the invisible line protecting human space held firm. Not with walls or weapons, but with the certainty that behind that border stood a species that would never stop calculating, never stop thinking, never stop finding solutions. The galaxy had been warned. Terran Command had drawn its line, and heaven help anyone foolish enough to cross it.